Yeah, I'm just going to analyse a game from Power Play Chess, Daniel King. I'm a real big fan of Daniel King. He presents complicated ideas in a very simple and straightforward way, and I'm going to try to present this game from Daniel King in a fairly simple and straightforward way, even although the ideas are reasonably complex. Another way of looking at it is it's going to be an even more amateur analysis than usual. I like Daniel King because of the work he does on YouTube. I've learned so much from watching his videos. I've enjoyed so much. He's a great commentator. He loves his chess. As a grandmaster himself, he's been there, done it. Bought the T-shirt. You know, he's a good man, Daniel King. So, and one of the things that he's really good at is Sicilians, and he has some fantastic courses on the Sicilian. Not for me, I'm not a Sicilian player, but if you play the Sicilian, you want to be learning from Daniel King. And here can we learn a little bit from Daniel King, but not so much because it's via me. But here goes anyway. E4, C5, normal Sicilian, knight F3, knight C6, normal Sicilian, D4, yeah, takes and takes again. Now here, E5, the Kalashnikov, is at this moment in time Daniel King's favourite Sicilian, and that the one in which he has the best courses. But this isn't this is a similar opening, but not a Kalashnikov. It's a Sveshnikov Pelican Lasker, the one that was used a great deal in the World Championship between Caruana and Carlsen. So he plays the knight first. He develops a knight, so they both developed two knights in the opening. That's good. And he attacks the knight, which then comes to b5, threatening to come immediately in to d6, and making the further development and such of black very difficult. So he has to push the pawn straight away. That leaves a hole here, which white will try to exploit. Tries to exploit it right away by coming in with the pawn and swap off. That you're more or less forced to do that. There isn't another good move. Now, here there are a few good choices. The choice which King makes here is a bit unusual, but it was used by Carlsen in the match against Caruana, and that's to take the knight right back to b8. So it's going to have to come to d7 and then c5 or b6 or f6 or so it's going to have to take another two moves to develop. At this time wasting, not really, because the knight is going to be chased away by the pawn to a6, and then that's going to be so. Then once that happens, black is just a move behind in development. Okay, it will then choose a slower route, but it will even itself out fairly much. So white plays c4 so that when the knight is chased away, it can go to c3 without blocking the pawn. The king develops his bishop, very sensible. White develops his bishop, both castle, and the knight is chased away and goes back to c3. And now f5. Again, this was used several times by Carlsen, particularly in the match against Caruana. And I think his best chance of winning came in one of these, where he played f4, if I remember rightly. Even although all the games were draws, there were some very exciting games from both sides, actually. This is to stop e5. Yeah, okay, but f3 is a weakening move, and look at this diagonal now. Alright, if he puts his queen there straight away, it might not work, but I mean, the diagonal is still weak. Why should you create such a weak diagonal for yourself? But King just develops his knight, sensibly enough. And now he challenges the bishop. Black's dark squared bishop is worse than white's dark squared bishop because there are so many pawns on dark squares, so he'll gladly get rid of that. But white says, yeah, okay, if you want to get rid of that, you're getting rid of it on my terms. And then king suggests a swap of queens. which his opponent goes for. And now it's a case of trying to make a breakthrough in the middle before the end game, trying to get in the move e4 for black in particular. b5, yeah, he's gonna, maybe if he gets to play c5, pawn takes, and the knight moves away, then he's got two pawns, one of them passed, storming down the middle, so something will have to be done about that. He tries to hold it up with, and now he pins the pawn. But white takes the pawn, and black takes the pawn, and now, yeah, come on. What's going to defend that pawn for him, especially with a light squared bishop? What's going to defend that pawn for him? In theory, the bishop could, but is it going to get there? I don't think so. And what's going to defend that pawn for him? I think he's created a really weak position. Sorry. And Daniel King goes about exploiting that brilliantly. So, bishop moves. The rook has to move. He supports the pawn. The bishop goes back. It's heading eventually to d1 to swap off. Doubles up the rooks. King comes into play. King comes further into play. Bishop goes back. And now those rooks are doubled. Now he attacks first the b pawn. And if he plays this knight, this rook, to defend the b pawn, then rook here check will force off a pair of rooks, which must be to black's advantage when white has such weak pawns. So he defends with the other rook, but that allows him to attack the pawn here and double up on this pawn, the b pawn. So he defends it with the rook, but then that's not getting defended anymore. So he's going to win either this pawn or this pawn. In fact, he wins that pawn, swaps him off, and now how's he going to defend that pawn? He's not. Takes the pawn, king comes here. Yeah, that's good. Stops the rook from coming here, but he just plays check anyway. And then comes to d6 with his rook. And what's stopping the d pawn from becoming a new queen? I think we'll find absolutely nothing. And white agrees and resigns. So fairly simple. He, gained a majority of pawns in the centre, eliminated the pawns on the queen side, and pushed forward with these pawns in the centre. Very simple, and that's one of the things I really like about Daniel King. He makes complicated ideas fairly simple to understand. Alright, some of these ideas are still above my pay grade, even simply succinctly explained by Daniel King. But I think that isn't that difficult for an average player like myself to follow. So yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on my videos. Share with your friends. Yep, thanks. Bye.